Hello everyone, welcome to NLG Level 2 English class. My name is Iswalaha and today I will be your Level 2 English instructor. And before we start our class, I would like to remind everyone very quickly that you must have completed Level 1 completely. So that consists of 2 sessions of Level 1 before you can attend this Level 2. Okay, so I can see that probably everyone's already come in, and I hope that you can hear me nice and clear. I just go ahead and quickly check my audio. Okay, I think everything is perfect now. So make sure that you also go ahead and like and follow our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. You subscribe to our YouTube channel so that when there's any live stream, any upcoming classes, that you'll be notified. And later on, of course, I will give you the QR code to participate in the Level 1 and 2 groups, chat group, as well as the channel on Telegram. But if you have already completed Level 1, then I assume that you're already in that group. But I'll share it later on anyway. So today, in this Level 2, which only consists of 1 session, I will help to activate your brain frequency and your stem cells, of course, so that it match with the Level 2 energy frequency. And it is really, really important that you're taking this class in real time. So when this live stream is actually broadcasted, rather than rewatching it, you can rewatch it to revise the content, but you cannot receive the energy activation when you rewatch it. Because at that time, I'm not going to actually be there to activate you, only in real time that I'm able to do so. Okay, and it is really important to receive all of the energy activation of a class level in order to practice the formula as well as to proceed to a high class level. So for Level 2, and I'll repeat again that we only have 1 session for Level 2, and you are required to participate fully. So you'll listen to all of the content, all of the information that I will give you. And then, of course, I will activate you near the end of this class. Now, before we actually dive into the content of Level 2, I'd like to just very quickly go ahead and send you healing energy so that we can start fresh with our class today. So if you haven't received any healing transmission, or if you haven't practiced self-healing in the past 6 hours, then you can certainly receive this healing support from me. And it's very similar to when you receive healing from Mr. Lay. So what you do is you look at my forehead, and then you visualize energy going from my forehead into yours, and then let it absorb throughout your body. Okay, so this is very different. This is not energy activation. This is healing energy transmission. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give everyone 3 minutes and 30 seconds of energy transmission. And this change, so if you're asking, like before it was 5 minutes and 30 seconds, but right now I am a Level 5 participant. I just finished Level 5 recently, and I will only transmit energy to everyone here for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, according to the technique and the formula that I was given for Level 5. Okay, so just want to clear that up. Okay, so get ready, everyone. And I'll set my timer to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And our healing energy transmission will start now. Okay, so we just finished the healing energy transmission. Now I'd like to spend about maybe 3 to 5 minutes to have everyone's participating in this very quick Q&A. So I would very much love to know about your experience when you practice level 1 formula. So if you feel you're comfortable sharing, then you can put it in the chat box. But then while I wait for you to do that, I'll just go ahead and just share with you some of the more frequently asked question from our participants from previous classes. So I guess one of the most asked question, even though we've talked about the need to practice consistently, is that some people say that because of different reasons that they can practice level 1 formula every day. So if that happened, can they still participate in level 2? Now the answer is yes. So if you didn't practice consistently with the level 1 formula, you can still participate in level 2 as long as your energy connection remains. However, it is highly suggested that you practice the formulas every day, that is of your current class level. And that is for all of the reasons that we've talked about already in level 1, because NLG is a practice-based method. So what that means is that it requires you to practice every day in order to see the results that you wish. And also, as you practice, it is in your own time. It is for your own benefit. So if you don't practice and you rely on other people to transmit energy to you, I mean, that's fine as well, because it's your choice. But it would be much, much better if you can proactively supporting yourself by practicing the formula, so that all of the cells in your body can be supported, and you can do that at your own pace whenever you feel like you need that assistance from the NLG energy. Now, some people do experience feeling a little sleepy after they complete a class level, for example, level 1, and while they practice the formulas as well. Now, I highly suggest that you really need to work on that if you take a class or when you practice the formula. What happened is, when you first started with energy, a lot of your energy level can still, be of a pretty minimal stage. And so when this energy comes in and absorb into your body and try to support you, then what happened is that experience, right, and that knowledge that you're lacking in energy is very clear, because it's evident in the fact that you feel very sleepy. So this energy comes in, it soothes all of the cells in your body. And so when the cells in your body get this support, then all of a sudden it's like they just want to relax. Okay, so in that case, our advice with all of our energy participants is to keep practicing and really power through it. Fight that urge when you feel sleepy. And also, you really need to maintain a balance and a healthy routine. And that goes back to the practice of self-love. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and make sure that you practice correctly, that you keep practicing, of course. And if you feel sleepy, then really work on that to resolve that issue. Now, for some of you, if you have family and you have particularly young children and you want to send this energy to your child, a lot of the time with young children, and this is a frequently asked question as well, is that when people try to transmit energy to very young children, because they're so active and they're often, not sitting in one place for you to transmit energy to them, but because you do have that connection because they're your child. So what you can do is you can transmit energy to them while they're sleeping. Okay, so that is totally okay. In terms of how this energy work, you can certainly transmit energy when your child is asleep, and the child doesn't need to be, consciously knowing that you transmit energy to them, and it still work. That means that you can still transmit energy, and that would be much better than when the child is awake and active and running around. Then it would be distracting for you, as well as your child. And if you're new to energy and you're new to the formula, you don't really remember the wording to the formula, that's okay. Remember that when you practice, you certainly need to keep your eyes open. And so that means that you can read the formulas if you're unsure, and if you haven't remembered the wording. And it's actually necessary to learn them, okay, and to memorize them as you go. But if you do need a little extra help by looking at the formula, then that's totally fine. Now, when it comes to the formula, though, it's not reading it out. It's really reciting it silently in your head and understand how to direct energy. It's not just reading out and this thing magically happens, but you certainly need to be in a state where you're ready to receive and to direct that energy. And it is through the +1 -1 frequency. It is through having and practicing love and moral values. So it is not just simply reading out the formula, but if you need a little revision of how to connect with this energy, then I highly suggest that you rewatch the level 1 content, as well as stay tuned for, throughout this class of level 2, where I will talk a little bit more in depth about the principles here at NLG, so that you can ensure an effective energy connection. All right, so I think we'll just go ahead and have a look at today's class content. So level 2's class content is very similar to level 1, but of course we'll discuss a lot more. We'll explore some examples that are very, very relevant to our everyday life. Of course, we'll talk about the formulas, the exciting part that everyone is very interested in. I will certainly send you energy activation. That's also very important, so that you can go ahead and practice level 2 formulas. Now, if for some reason you're participating in this class, but then you miss out on the energy activation, then I'm very, very sorry to tell you, but you will need to wait until the next level 2 class, okay, to receive the activation. The activation is really, really important. And it's also really important to sit through this class, listen to all of the content, so that you actually understand how this energy work, and also to understand how the formulas work, because I will be explaining the formula as well. And remember that with NLG, when we talk about love and morality, we don't mean that you need to do anything, fancy for our community, but it's really is at this foundation level, start to look at the people around you. It's about how to treat people with love and morality. We're looking at behaviors, we're looking at responses and mindsets, etc., that occur in our everyday life, that influence our everyday life. Sometimes we think that they're very minor and we don't really notice, but as a matter of fact, it does make a difference when you practice love and morality, and especially when you try to connect to this energy source. And it's also about when you're in the mindset to actively change yourself, that willingness to control your +1 -1 frequency, regardless of which of what situation that you're in without demanding other people to change themselves. So it's all comes from you first. Okay. So going back to this logo here, to the energy logo, I'll share my screen so that everyone can see. Okay, so with this logo, remember that the cosmic divine light logo on the left-hand side of the screen here represent love and light that embrace all beings, and it provides us with lessons, with knowledge and wisdom for all of us to learn from it and thrive and to be closer to divinity. And that wisdom displayed by different projects are available, are practiced, are implemented at NLG Energy University to enable benefits for all of us to create materials and abundance. Now, when we have that material support and we're healthy, we have that wisdom, we can build a loving home. And more importantly, that we can maintain a loving home. And when we have a loving home and everyone else have a loving home, then our entire society will be filled with that. So the living home points to the possibility and the necessity of having just that, where everyone's genuinely connected with love, with respect, and for a home to truly be a home like how it has been designed for us on this planet. Now, gradually, we'll guide you through a technique, of course. We'll guide you to find a techniques to live and build what we call an ascended civilization, which is where we live with genuine gratitude and we understand gratitude correctly. And when there is peace for everyone. Now, we cannot live a life without any discipline or without any direction, of course. We need to know and adhere to the principles of NLG in order to harness this energy source. Much like when, say, if you live in a country, you need to follow the rules of that country. You can't say that you do the things that you want in your own way completely, because as a species, of course, we relate to one another, we connect to one another, we live in a community. So there has to be certain discipline. But then the ascended civilization that we talked about here at NLG is where all of us can be happy. When we understand, we can all be happy. It's not so that it restricts people in certain rules and things like that. It is not that. Okay. And in high class level, Mr. Lee, our energy founder, will be sharing more information about this. And Mr. Lee, nowadays, you know that he often teach from level 3 upwards. And then we have energy instructors like myself, who will take care of level 1 and 2. And so basically, it's very much the same when we talk about love and morality, that those are the elements that we need to have to harness this energy. And within this ascended civilization, where love and morality is expressed, is for everyone. So certainly it is something, an ideal that we need to head towards. And it's not just an ideal, but it's also something, and I really need to stress this, that it is something that we can do, okay? It is something that we can certainly achieve. So when we talk about discipline and an ascended civilization, it also requires you to, of course, when you take this method, you need to follow the formula that we provide you, meaning that please do not change the wording, don't improvise, don't add your own preference, or try to reason with anything in the formula, because it has been standardized according to the knowledge and the information that Mr. Lei has already learned from the energy source, from the cosmic divine light. So especially at level 1 and 2. I cannot stress enough how important these foundation levels are. And it is very, very essential that you get it right at the very beginning, so that when you proceed to a higher class level, that you understand fully the formula, how to direct this energy, and really build that consistency and discipline for yourself when you practice the formula. So we just go back a little bit to the 3 challenges that we have currently with humanity. And I'll try to explain a little bit more at level 2. So basically, we've talked about the need to maintain and practice the 5 forms of love. I hope that everyone understand and remember and know exactly what that is. So the 5 forms of love and morality, in order to, of course, resolve these issues that we've talked about. And remember that even when you're activated, even when you have this energy source to apply, but for some reason, if you decide that you don't want to practice love and morality anymore, then of course it won't work. Even if I activate you, then it still doesn't work if you don't have, if you don't meet the requirements of NLG. And you cannot come in to receive this activation and then decide to take this energy to do whatever it is that you wish. Particularly if it's not for good intention. So it only works when you put genuine love and moral values in the things that you do. And so that's why Mr. Lee often say, if you listen to the translation or if you read our English subtitle in our video, that he often say that you cannot get away with doing bad things and you cannot cheat when it comes to NLG. And even though we do talk about love quite a lot here at NLG, we do know, or I assume that everyone knows, how to practice love. But the real question that we need to be mindful of, that we need to really ask ourselves, even though it may make us feel uncomfortable at times, is that how many of us here have actually done just that, have practice love? And if you do, then what percentage of that you've been able to do? So think about the times that you from the time that you finish at level 1 and all the way until now, when you'll finally get to participate in this level 2, what have you done differently that show love to yourself and to your family? Because remember that in level 1, we work on the first 2 forms, which is self-love and love for family. Now, some people, even though when they come to NLG, their illness, their conditions are not that severe, but then they mistakenly think that if they just get the activation for the sake of receiving activation, and then they continue to rely on Mr. Lee's or other participants' healing support without actually practicing for themselves, no stem cell stimulation, no practicing love and morality, then what happened is their progress, okay, they make very, very slow progress here at NLG because they don't put in the effort. And there are a number of reasons that people put forth that we've heard. For example, I'm a very busy person. I have a full-time job. I don't really have time for this, and etc. Now, if you go into, or when you learn a method and then you find yourself putting forward all of these excuses, all of these reasons, then what it does is that, it doesn't affect us as NLG instructor, but it certainly affects you because you're missing out on the opportunity to do something amazing for yourself. Because here's the thing, you can receive healing support. For example, you just did at the start of this live stream from me. But no one can practice the stem cell stimulation formula for you. And remember that no one needs to know whether you practice or not, that it's your own thing. So I don't go around judging you if you don't practice. And certainly no one should go around judging you on whether you do it or not. And you certainly don't have to report that to people, but it's really is about your own journey. It's about that self-awareness and self-development, and just being very proactive in what you do in your own practice of NLG. So this is for you, okay? This is something that once you get activated, once you're given the formula, that it is for you. And it's really important that you practice the formula. And I cannot stress that enough, because it's really support the stem cells in your body, because they'll be the one who will do the work for you. Okay, so, and only when you support them correctly that they're able to function properly. Remember how I said that, they're part of you, right? So all of these cells working within our body, we also need to cooperate with them. They're the one who's doing the work, the hard work, and then we're the one who can attract, we can send, we can receive this energy, right? Using our brain frequency, and of course our practice of love and morality. So everyone has a role to play here. Now, before we didn't know that. We didn't know that we can do that with our brain. We didn't know that we have this energy source. It's not widely, informed to people. But now we do have this energy source that can enable that very specific task. Okay, that's that goal that we're looking for. So what are the reasons for not practicing, especially when it is free for you to practice, right? After you get to the activation, you can practice in your own time. So every time that you practice, it costs you nothing. And it is not to say that, of course, that you are pressured to practice, but I'm just simply presenting you with the benefits of practicing, so that you can understand the importance of practicing. Even when I tell you all of this, but if you don't understand the importance of practicing, of course, you're not going to prioritize it. Okay, so I hope that everyone here will learn to embrace this technique, embrace your own journey with NLG, and embrace and find passion in practicing the formula. Because after level 2, even though the formulas feel very similar to level 1, the energy is certainly upgraded. Okay, so the energy frequency that you'll be having after today's class will be quite different. And if you, let's say, for you to visualize this more easily, then let's say if, for example, in level 1, you're connecting to Wi-Fi, say 2G, right? You have the Wi-Fi, but it's very slow. Then in level 2, it's like getting upgraded to 3G. So everything is a little bit faster in terms of the transmission and of the effectiveness. And remember how you can only give healing support to family member in level 1? Well, that has changed in level 2, because now you can go beyond that. You can heal other people as well. And in order for us to keep up with that energy upgrade, of course, our understanding and our practice of love and moral values need to match accordingly. It is not just having those elements, but constantly upgrading them as you go. Of course, with a +1, -1 frequency as well. Because what happens if you don't get it right at the foundational level, level 1 and 2, when you get to level 3, you may not feel a lot of improvement because you don't understand. Okay, so if there's a discrepancy between your understanding versus the energy frequency that you're activated, then you might not know how to correctly utilize this energy source. So just certainly put that in mind and try to build that discipline in your practice. Now, talking about the brain and the universe, of course, last time that we've already said that there is certain similarity between them that we might not be very aware of. So we know that even the smartest of us have only used up to 10%, probably somewhere from 7 to 10%, and that's what we know about the brain. But our brain is much like a mini universe, and we need to be in the right frequency, of course, to match with the energy source, and that is the +1 -1 frequency. Now, when you're in that frequency, the cells in your body will be able to receive this energy, absorb it, develop, upgrade. For example, it will be evident in having a clearer, sharper mind, where it takes less time for you to do the same task, and you can do it a lot more effectively than before. So I'm sure that there are moments where all of a sudden you have really, really good ideas, right? And of course, when you're in that brilliant moment and everything seems easier, everything seems clearer, and that is something that we aim for, right? In our everyday life, where we're in that state that we're so efficient and we have a lot of excellent ideas. We just know of the right way to resolve things. So imagine that happen every single moment of our lives. So that is the point that we aim for when it comes to efficiency. And we can certainly do that with this energy source as we keep practicing. So that's why I stress on the necessity to practice. And of course, do not waste the opportunity to, do amazing things for yourself. Because of course, the cells in your body, they need to be taken care of every day. When you're able to upgrade your brain, say, from 2G, 3G to 4G, 5G, then once you're in 5G, of course, once you get to experience what it feels like to be on that level, then of course you don't want to go back to 3G or 2G anymore. So once you've already activated with an energy frequency, it is very, very important that you keep yourself at that frequency, at that level of energy. And of course, we know that the +1 -1 frequency is something that we can regulate ourselves into. So as an energy instructor, my job is to help you to activate your brain cell and your stem cell. But I cannot regulate your +1 -1 frequency for you, right? So some people continue to take energy classes, but they find limited improvements. And that is the reason why. Okay, so because they're not properly connected to the energy source from outer space that we're using. So we need to understand that principle in order to get the most out of this technique. I guess I don't need to show you the slides about the 5 forms of love anymore. I feel like that's pretty straightforward, but I'll go ahead and discuss that a little bit more. So after this foundation level of level 1 and 2, you will observe improvements in your everyday life. It could be with even with your relationship or social life. That's what we've heard from our energy participants. Because what happens is when you're in this mindset of working towards love and morality, you become a better version of yourself, someone who's kind, friendly, caring, compassionate, and very, very calm, very in control of every situation, because you remain unaffected by the things that happen around you, and you very quickly can readjust your emotion when something happens. And of course, to keep in mind the laws of karma. What goes around comes around. And of course, you cannot get away with doing the wrong things. And on the other hand, if you do the right thing, you get rewarded. that attractions will come to you like attracts like. So if you ask, okay, why is it that I feel like I've been doing a lot of good things, right? But still, I don't see anything good coming my way. So why is that? Now, I can only tell you that what goes around comes around, not just in this life, but in the many lives that we've served. So when you put forward that question, try to consider the things that I just said. Because if you do the right thing, you do the good things, you can save up a lot of your good karma credits, or good karmic energy, rather than calculating when you should be able to get that rewards. So instead of asking that question, trying to think about how you can do good things from now, or starting now, and not expecting that people or things, good things have to come in order for you to continue to do the good things. It should be that I'm determined to do these good things for other people, to treat people nicely, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay? And full stop. Not, okay, I do these good things and I expect other people to be good to me as well. So that is something that, throughout the practice of energy, and after listening to the experience of our energy participant, that we would like to just share that with you. And remember that when it comes to the laws of karma and the relationship between what we did, what we do, versus our good karmic energy, the outer space civilization has a very precise way of calculating and evaluating those. So they do not make mistake. Okay. And of course, we should be thankful for the things that are happening around us. And we need to learn how to do that. We need to learn to be content with that, because things do happen around us nonstop. And when everything is fine, everything goes your way, of course, you stay in a very loving and calm manner. But when something happens that you don't expect, that you don't like, or if you observe something that you don't like, or something indirectly affects you or directly affects you, then instead of reacting in ways that you would normally do, trying to consider the chance to test your practice of love and morality. And then you need to look back at what you do and learn how to resolve things in accordance with the teaching of NLG. Because here's the thing, everything happens for a reason. And if something that you don't like happened to you, see them as a test, as a lesson. And it could also due to your karmic relationship, the karmic consequences that you now had to deal with. And so whatever happened, just deal with it in a loving way. And with this topic, it will be explored more in depth in level 3. Now, with a +1 -1 frequency, and I'll just explain that a little bit more. Let's say if you are in a negative state, for example, if you're angry, if you're resentful, or you're in a state of self-blame, etc., and then basically what you're doing is you're distancing yourself from the safe zone, and the safe zone is the +1 -1 frequency. So whatever happened, you want to certainly take responsibility. You want to face that situation in a calm, loving manner. And you might ask yourself, what have I done to deserve all of this, right? But we know that with karmic consequences, it's not only relevant to this life, it doesn't just apply to this life, but also for the many lives, as I've talked about. And the outer space civilization, they oversees it all. And they evaluate all of that. not for us to criticize that it is unfair and that these things shouldn't happen to us, but to recognize how our lives operate. Okay, so to look at this from a more in-depth perspective, not blaming, but to be aware, to be mindful. So, of course, they don't just record down the bad things or the negative things that we do, but certainly an equal amount of the good things that we do if we have been doing the right things. So that's why I encourage you to, sometimes it is better to just do the good things rather than asking, why is it that I've been doing all these good things and then nothing good comes to me? Because you will have a better understanding as you continue to do the good things. Like the answer will come from that. So keep practicing energy formula, and then you realize that energy can help you to do the good things, to save a lot more good karma credits, because energy is all about love and morality. So for example, if you meet someone who has an illness and they ask you for help, then when you help them, you provide them with the support that they need, then that in itself, of course, is saving good karma credits and doing the good things. And especially when you after level 2, you get to support other people as well. So beyond your family. And then when you get to level 3, there'll be even more formulas for you to practice and to do a lot more miraculous things. Now, some people, when they come into energy, they want to learn and they want to explore this method with very genuine interest. And so when they're in that state, they match with the frequency very easily. They get access to energy more strongly, and that means they can do more things more effectively. Okay, but then compared to people when they come in and they're skeptical and they're not willing to open up their heart and their mind to the practice of energy, to the content of energy, that would certainly have an effect on their energy frequency, how much they can receive it, how much they can utilize it. However, it doesn't mean that those people are left out. Okay, so there's always a second chance. If they change themselves, if they change their mindset, the way that they look at this whole thing, if they have a genuine interest to learn, to practice, then when they come in and when they connect again, they'll get the same connection. Okay, but that connection we cannot guarantee that it's going to be the same for everyone, of course, because everyone will interpret this method differently and you will approach it differently. So you're the only one who know how much, when you come in, like how genuine you are about this whole thing. So, try to work with that and try to make the most out of this method. Okay, so I think for time, I'll just go ahead now and introduce you to the level 2 formula set. So that we'll talk about the formula, and then afterwards I will activate you for the level 2 energy frequency. Okay, so all right, so the first formula for level 2 is the stem cell stimulation frequency. So very similar to level 1, but this time after you complete this class, of course, the energy frequency will be upgraded. Now, so step 1, of course, think about it as a command. If you want to do something, you need to put in the right request. needs to be precise. So please do not change any of the wording of any of our formulas. And here it said that you recite silently, meaning that you, of course, only think about these wordings in your head. You follow the wording in your head, and there's no need to say them out loud. So step 1 would be receive cosmic divine light new era, energy level 2 frequency band, stem cell stimulation frequency. And once you get that done, when you finish reciting that in your head, you continue to recite in your head step 2, receive energy into the brain. So it means that you visualize energy from outer space entering the brain right here. So receive first time, receive second time, receive third time with 3 to 5 seconds in between each time. And I feel like I don't need to stress on this too much, but maybe just a reminder that with all of the images that we put in our formulas, that is for you to visualize only. So when you actually go to practice, of course, you visualize your own body, your own brain, and your spine. So this is only an illustration. And so once you receive energy into the brain, when you finish doing that, then you move on to step 3, send energy from the brain into the ERC. Okay, so the ERC, I hope that has been very clear for everyone now that it is the part that is at the back of your neck. Okay, so that is your ERC. It's right here. So you send first time, second time, third time, and then in step 4, continuously direct energy into the brain to the ERC and continue sending it from the ERC down the entire spine to the coccyx. Continuously support the energy, maintain warmth for the entire spine to stimulate stem cells until alarm rings. Now imagine that step 1 is the command, step 2 is when you're connecting that energy, and then step 3 is when, of course, you're directing that energy to the ERC. And it's very much like in this step here in 1, 2, and 3, you're sort of turning the lights on and off. It's like you're getting ready, okay? And then step 4, that's when you maintain that energy. You continuously direct that energy and support that energy. And so imagine that in this step 4, when you already turn the lights on and you keep it on, okay? So there's no flickering of any sort. It's bright and it's on, and that it is something that you continuously support until the alarm rings. Now, when you practice this formula, of course, you keep your eyes open the whole time and you direct energy accordingly. Down here, you see the practice duration, and this is according to your age. Okay, so if you are above 18 years old, you practice this for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. If you have a child learning energy with you and at this level, then of course you have a look at these this practice duration, and then you can advise them on that. Now, in case if you have vision impairments or you have eye-related conditions that prevent you from opening your eyes, then it's okay to close your eyes. But once again, we do have our Telegram groups so that you can ask questions if you need. Feel free to post your question on there. Okay, moving on to the next formula. So this is the self-healing formula here. So in step 1, you will say that sentence there, that is the command for this formula. And then in step 2, receive energy into the brain, very similar. That is energy from outer space entering the brain. Receive first time, second time, third time. And then step 3, send energy from the brain into the ERC. So send first time, second time, third time. And then in step 4, because it is self-healing, so you will continuously direct energy into the brain here, and continue to transmit it into the ERC right here. Let the warmth of energy spreads on its own until alarm rings. Okay, and once again, the practice duration depends on your age. And of course, keep your eyes open while practicing this formula and direct energy accordingly. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. But make sure that you do go through all of the notes before you practice. Now, this is direct healing formula. And with direct healing, what it means is that the recipient needs to physically be there with you, because you need to place your 2 hands of the recipient's ERC as pictured here. And so, of course, in step 1, you will recite silently in your head once, receive cosmic divine light new era energy level 2 frequency band direct healing frequency. And then step 2, receive energy into the brain of the transmitter. So if you're transmitting energy, then that's you. Okay, so you receive energy into your brain. Receive first time, second time, third time, with 3 to 5 seconds each time. And we really suggest that you do not rush the process of receiving or sending energy. Please follow the instructions of the formula very closely. And then in step 3, so after you receive energy into your brain, if you're the transmitter, then what you do in step 3 is you send it. Okay, so you send this energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's ERC. Send first time, second time, third time. And then in step 4, the transmitter continuously transmit energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's ERC. Okay, so basically that comparison, that metaphor, when the light is on, you keep it on all the way. Once the light is on, you keep it on all the way until the alarm rings. Okay? Now, note, very, very important to read these notes. So level 2 practitioners are not yet ready to support people with neurological diseases. Do keep that in mind. And while performing, the transmitter and the recipient keep their eyes open and maintain in a state of mindfulness. The recipient can visualize the ailing areas. If there's many, then you just focus on the ERC and the entire spine. So this is really important when you transmit energy to the recipient, that you inform them of that. So that is what they're going to do while you're doing your own thing, while you're practicing the formula. That is something that they can do. That is to visualize their ailing areas. And before supporting another person with serious illnesses, the transmitter must feel warmth for 5 minutes and 30 seconds during the practice of stem cells stimulation formula. And of course, this is direct healing. So as I've said, the person needs to be there with you in order for you to give them direct healing. And you can support 1 time per day per person. And then for those with severe condition, you can support them twice a day. And remember that there needs to be 6 hours apart. And of course, because this is the formula that you use for other people, so the practice duration will depend on their age. Okay. Now, you can see here that for children from 0 to 3 years old, of course, the practice duration is very short, relatively shorter. So what you can do is you can start with step 1 and 2 without the timer. And then as you get to step 3, that's when you will press your timer. You set your timer to 30 seconds or to 1 minute. And then you can, when you press your timer, then you can read from step 3 so that you have more time to direct energy for children from 0 to 3. But that only applies for that particular age group. Okay, for other age group from 4 years old and above, please just transmit energy according to just press the timer as you start from step 1. Okay. I'll see if I still have any more notes for you here. Oh, and it is, of course, very necessary that you ask people for consent before you give them this healing support, whether it's a family member or it's other people around you, because remember that in level 2, you can start supporting other people outside of your family. And for a family member, because they're very close to you and because they're family, so even if they live very far away, they say that they're very busy, but if you would still like to send them energy, then you can still do that. Okay. Now, it is certainly better that they know about that, but because it will be more effective, of course, when they're on board with you. But in case if they're very busy and you still want to send them energy, then you can still do that. But then for people who are outside of your family, who are not in your family, say if it's a friend, a colleague, then you need to ask them and inform them of how this works before you transmit energy to them. And of course, if they say no, then please do not force to give them this support. They need to be on board and they need to understand in order to receive this energy. And also you need to inform people, if you're using direct healing, is that you need to place your hands on the recipient's ERC. Okay, so you need to touch them near the back of their neck. And if they're comfortable with that, and if they give you consent to do that, then that's okay. But if they say no, once again, do not force them to receive energy. Okay. And of course, before you practice this formula, if you have any question, feel free to contact us by our Telegram groups so that we can help you to clarify any confusions before you go ahead and implement this formula for other people. Now, in level 2, we will start to have indirect healing formula. Okay, so we have the direct healing, and now it is indirect healing. So I'll just go through the step first. It's very, very similar to the direct healing. So of course you have the command here in step 1, receive cosmic divine line new era energy level 2 frequency band, indirect healing frequency. Okay, and you recite silently once. And then receive energy into the brain of the transmitter. So receive first time, second time, third time. And then, of course, you send energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's ERC. First time, second time, third time. And then in step 4, you continuously transmit energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's ERC. Now, when it say indirect, okay, I'll just go through the notes first. So before I go a little bit deeper into other tips on how to practice this formula. Okay, so of course it notes here that level 2 participants are not yet ready to support patients with neurological diseases. And while you perform this formula on another person, both the transmitter and the recipient need to maintain a state of mindfulness. The transmitter, now this is where it's different from the direct healing. So with the indirect healing, the transmitter closes their eyes and the recipient opens their eye, focus on the transmitter's forehead, and visualize receiving energy to the ailing area. If there's many, then just visualize receiving the energy to the ERC and the entire spine. So please read this note very carefully so that you know exactly what to do and how to instruct your recipient. Before supporting another person with serious illness, the transmitter must feel warmth for 5 minutes and 30 seconds while practice the stem cells stimulation formula. Now, indirect healing at this level 2 energy frequency, you can only do one-on-one support session. Okay, so you can support one person at a time using indirect healing. And of course, you support one time per day per person. And then for those with severe conditions, you can support them twice a day, 6 hours apart. Now, what it means by indirect healing is you can transmit energy to a recipient from far away. So for example, there's generally 3 circumstances. Number 1 is when you want to transmit energy to someone through a phone call with or without the front camera. So you can do phone call, or you can do a video call, or you can do Zoom. Okay, so either you can see the participant and they can see you, or you can't. And then number 2 is through arranged time without any picture of the recipient. It could be that you can't find a time to call each other, time zone difference or whatever, or due to other reasons. And so what you can do in this stage is that, let's say you make an appointment with the recipient to transmit energy to them. For example, if you say to them, okay, so every morning I'll transmit energy to you at 8 a.m. And then at 8 a.m., your time or their time, whatever, you need to make that very clear with them. Okay. And then at that exact time of the day, you will start to transmit energy, and the recipient knowingly receive that energy at that time as well, because you've already made that appointment with each other, and there's no need for any phone calls or anything like that. Now, while that happened, okay, so when you transmit energy like that, of course, you still follow the step here in the formula. And of course, you will utilize the indirect healing formula, right? And then the third circumstance is through pictures. So you send energy to someone through pictures. Now you can ask the participant, the recipient, for their photo, and you can transmit energy to them accordingly. This is particularly useful, say when a person is in a coma, no consciousness, and then their family give you consent, ask you for support and then give you consent to send energy to that person. Then that's how it works in that circumstance. Now, some people might ask, well, how do I transmit energy to the recipient if I cannot see them? Okay, so the answer to that is that you direct energy through thoughts. You recite it in your head about the things that about how you wish to transmit energy to the recipient. However, be careful with this, because when, for example, in case where you see someone on the news suffering from a condition or something like that, you cannot transmit energy to that person out of sympathy, okay, unless the person or their family contact you and wish that you transmit energy to them. Okay, so consent is really, really important. I cannot stress that enough. Do not force this transmission on other people, and do not go out there and just transmit energy to anyone. Okay, you really need to talk to them about that. They need to be on board with you. They need to understand what it is that you're doing. And it's so important that when you transmit energy that that when you transmit energy that they know about that, so they can receive the energy more effectively, unless they fall into the, one of those category that I talked about earlier, that when they're unconscious, but when their family is on board with you about that, then that's still okay. All right, so this is the encouraging family frequency. So of course, in step 1, you recite silently once, receive cosmic divine light, new era energy, level 2 frequency band, encouraging family frequency. And then step 2, you receive energy into the brain of the transmitter, that is. So if you look to encourage someone in your family, then of course you're the transmitter. And then in step 3, send energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's brain. And then you will say send first time, second time, third time in your head. And then in step 4, you send encouraging messages to the recipient's brain. And you keep transmitting messages continuously over and over again until alarm rings. And of course, here's the practice duration. So it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds, 1 time per day per person. Now, this formula, of course, is only for family members on both sides of your family, and those who are very, very close to you, have direct relationship with you, and say your parents, your in-laws, your co-workers. And it is possible to encourage many people in one session if the message that you want to send out is the same. Okay, for example, you have 2 children and both of them perhaps play game a little too much and they don't study. And so if both of them are doing that and you want to send an encouraging message to say to them that you need to, if you play game, you need to do so with, you need to be conscious of the timing of that and to not neglect your study and things like that, then you can send the same message in the same session to both children. Okay, so as long as the message is the same, and you want to encourage, a few people in your family using the same message, then you can all do it in just 1 session of practice. Now, in case if the message is very long, you can certainly write it down so that you can repeat it over and over again in step 4. Now, if the message is very different between the people that you want to encourage, then of course you need to practice this formula separately for each of those messages. And when you perform this formula, you can open your eyes or you can close your eyes, because the recipient will not be there with you. They will not be sitting in front of you, because when you encourage someone like this, it is best that you don't tell them and that they're not around when you practice this formula, because what happened is the purpose of this formula is that a lot of the time when you find that you can't really talk to someone about something, when you know that it is a very unhealthy habit, and yet you can't talk to them about it to change that habit, to change that behavior, then you can use this energy to encourage them to do the more positive things, okay, to adopt a more positive lifestyle. So message examples include, for example, to practice moral qualities, to practice moral values, to have love, and to resolve concerns, to take good care of themselves if they haven't been doing that, or to quit drinking, quit smoking, quit playing video game excessively, etc. So it only works when your message is positive and that you're setting it with love and with compassion and with empathy for that person that you want to encourage. And this would only be effective if the transmitter has achieved 5 minutes and 30 seconds of warmness during the stem cells stimulation practice. Now remember that and this is totally logical, if you want to encourage someone, then you need to make sure that you've done the right thing yourself as well. So that means you need to take care of yourself. You need to show that you've changed according to love and morality and with all of these good quality before you can encourage your loved ones. And also it's really important that if you want to use this formula, that you need to practice by yourself. Because we have question where some participants don't feel so confident about their energy level. And then they ask if any other participant or even energy instructor can encourage their family member. Now, that is not something that we can do, okay? Because we have no connection with your family, with your loved ones. So in this case, because it's encouraging family members, so if you want to do it, then you have to do it by yourself. And it's also a good test for you to see, at which level that your energy is at, and that need to really work on yourself before you can utilize this formula for your family member. And also the message that you send out to your family member, it has to be consistent. So that's why we encourage you that if the message is too long, then maybe write it down. And because it has to be consistent throughout the sessions of your practice until you see that there's changes. Okay, and then you can stop or you can switch to another encouraging messages if the person still need to work on something else. For example, if your partner drink excessively and to the point where it affects your life and your family and your children together, and it creates a lot of problems, then you can, and you can't talk to the person about that, then you can use this formula to try to encourage him, setting loving energy to him or to her, and to encourage them to quit drinking. So you can certainly practice this formula until you see changes in the person's behavior. And this is actually a very, very common example. A lot of people have used this formula for their loved one, to support their loved one to cope, and of course to quit unhealthy habits. And of course, as I mentioned, we don't need to tell the person that we're using this formula on them, because the thing is, if we're able to talk about these changes and encourage them in words, like through conversation, to ask them to change these unhealthy habits, and if it's already worked, then of course we don't need to use this formula. But because in many cases it doesn't work when you talk to them, and then it ends up in a very messy situation with lots of argument, and so you don't want that. And so instead of continue to talk about it which totally defeat the purpose or to make it worse, you can use this energy to help them. Okay. And because what happened is when you send this energy to them, when you use this formula, what it does is that it helps to upgrade that understanding, that brain energy of the person. And so that's why it is very effective. And certainly the person doesn't need to be around you when you practice this formula on them. Of course, you don't want them to sit right in front of you, because you don't want them to know just yet about these things that, it's like talking to them without actually talking to them. Okay. And of course, they're your family member, so you don't need a photo of them or anything, because you already know their face. You know them. So you can just practice this in a quiet space where you're very focused and you're very mindful. And remember that in step 4, because you have a lot of remaining time for step 4, so what you do in step 4 is to repeat the encouraging messages over and over again. Okay, moving on to this hand position for deafness. And so this is basically healing formula. It belongs to the healing formula. But this is the hand position specifically for deafness. Okay. So the steps are similar to direct healing. And while you perform, the transmitter visualizes sending energy to the ears, brain, and entire spine. Put your hands on both ears, and you can see how the fingers are on the earlobes here. Okay, it's very clear to see. And here's the hand position for all vision impairment, eye-related condition. Oh, sorry, I'll just go back a little here. So you can see that this is how you will help someone else, okay, with hearing problem. But if you're trying to assist yourself, what you do is, of course, you can't do this because it's just very difficult. And so what happened is you can do this instead. So you do that. Okay, so you place your hand on your ear like that, very gently. Okay, very gently. Don't apply a lot of pressure, or else later on it'll be very sore. So that is how you assist yourself. Whereas if you assist another person, then the hand position will be like this. And this one is for vision impairment or eye-related condition. So of course, the steps, you need to go back to the direct healing formula. And while you perform, the transmitter visualizes transmitting energy to the eyes, brain, and entire spine of the recipient. Gently place both hands on both sides of the person's temples, the middle finger on the end of the eyebrows of the receiver. Okay, so as depicted here. Now, for yourself, if you have a vision impairment of any sort, the way that you place your hand is that you put it like this on your brow bones. Okay, so just here, just above your eyes. Don't put it directly, into your eyes, because that would make it very sore. We don't want that. So it's at your brow bone here. You place your hand very gently like this, so that you can hear yourself if you have a vision impairment. And then here is the hand position for all conditions of the nervous system of the brain. So once again, the steps are similar to direct healing. And when you perform this, the transmitter visualizes sending energy to the brain and the entire spine. The transmitter should be flexible in how the hands are placed, depending on the receiver's condition. Okay, so if they have to lie down because of their condition and they cannot sit up or stand up for you to transmit energy to them, then just place your hand however that seems most appropriate on their head and transmit energy to them so that they can remain in a comfortable position. And also at the beginning, what happened is you can put your hands on either side of the brain like this, sending energy into the receiver's brain. And then after 2 weeks or about a month, if you see improvements, and it's just how the condition, how the improvement progress, that you can then switch to this position here, where you put one hand on the brain like this, and then the other hand on the person's ERC. Okay, so if you have any question regarding this formula, this hand position instruction, then you can certainly contact us by Telegram, and we'll be very happy to assist you. And by the way, with the when you support someone with vision impairment, as well as when you assist yourself, when you have a vision impairment, if you're wearing glasses, then you can take them off, just because that they'll be in the way when your hands are placed in that particular position. And also you need to work on your routine and your habits, because a lot of the time when it comes to eye-related condition, if you continue to use a lot of, if you're on your computer and phone a lot, let's say you are short-sighted and you want to, try to resolve that. But if you're still on your phone a lot, you use your laptop excessively, or if you read book but there's not enough lighting or something like that, then that could affect it as well. And then we also have these 2 notes for you that you can read in your own time, and I highly suggest that you go through them before you practice the formula. Go through these, and I'll make sure to post these notes on Telegram as well. So just give you more idea of how you can practice the formula. Okay. So now for the exciting part, because we are running out of time, I'm aware of that. So we will now get our energy activation for level 2. And then I will help you to practice the stem cell stimulation formula together. Okay, so let's get ready, everyone. And the ways in which that you will receive this this activation, I'll just play the demonstration video so that everyone is very clear on how to receive it. Okay, so this is how you will receive the energy activation from me for level 2. So you will continuously visualize energy going from my forehead into yours, okay, into your brain, and you can keep it there. Okay, so just keep the energy there at your brain, like so. Okay. So I think that has been very clear. So basically you open your eyes, of course. I will have my eyes closed, but you open your eyes, you look at my forehead, and then you visualize energy going from my forehead into yours. And then you continue to visualize energy going into your forehead for the entire duration of 1 minute and 30 seconds until I say that time is up. Okay. Now, this energy activation is level 2 energy activation. So it is only those who have fully completed level 1, or if you're currently in level 2, you've done level 2 before, and you're currently still in level 2, you haven't taken level 3, then you can also receive this level 2 activation. Okay. For any of you who's joining us who are level 3 and 4 or 5, please do not receive this energy activation. Okay, so let's get started, everyone. This is level 2 energy activation. Let's begin. Okay, and we have finished with the energy activation. So now I will put on the screen the stem cell stimulation formula so that we can practice together. Okay, so let's get ready, everyone. I assume that everyone here is above 18, so I will set my timer to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I will also play you a demonstration audio with the formula on the screen so that you can follow. Okay, and let's start now, everyone. And I'll also turn my video off so that you can see the formula better. Okay, so let's practice this stem cell stimulation frequency formula together. This is practice session to receive Cosmic Divine Light New Era NOG Level 2 frequency band, stem cell stimulation frequency. The timer will be set to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's begin. Step 1. Recite silently once. Receive Cosmic Divine Light New Era NOG Level 2 frequency band, stem cell stimulation frequency. Step 2. Receive energy into the brain. Receive first time. Receive second time. Receive third time. Step 3. Send energy from the brain into the ERC. Send first time. Send second time. Send third time. Step 4. Continuously direct energy into the brain to the ERC and continue sending it from the ERC down the entire spine to the coccyx. Continuously support the energy, maintain the warmth for the entire spine to stimulate stem cells until alarm rings. Okay, and time's up, everyone. Well, congratulations, everyone, on completing level 2. So I'll just share very quickly with you the QR code to get into the Telegram group. Okay. And I will post all of the formulas on this group here. So thank you everyone for participating. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. On behalf of all participants here today, I'd like to say thank you to our energy founder, Mr. HOTLINE, and of course to everyone working behind the scene. And make sure that you practice the level 2 formulas, really get to experience it, and afterwards be very prepared for level 3, because level 3 is coming in September. And also don't forget that we have another level 2 session. Well, it's not a session, but we have another level 2 starting at 5 p.m. California time. So that if you have any friends or family members who want to attend level 2 at that time, then feel free to ask them to come in at 5 p.m. California time on YouTube and Facebook, so that they can attend that class. Okay. And also I'd like to share with you very quickly, just because we're still here, this is the schedule for tonight's class. Okay. All right, so thank you everyone once again, and you can always rewatch this video for revision as well as for the QR code and the schedule, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in this afternoon's class. All right, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.